During your time as an officer, did you ever have to deal with insurgents who were teenagers,
Yes,
a part of FARC, or you did?
yeah, yes, and they are many. We capture many times. They are young people, and they don't have more opportunities. They don't have and the guerrillas try to make brainwash with this all this communist narrative, and try to say that oh, the enemy is the army, or we kill all people. And so the way is when we capture and we try to show how is the real values of the army, how they can become successful. And so we have more people capture, or more guerrillas capture history in Colombia, or demobilize, that the real guerrillas that we neutralize. Yeah. So and when we try to listen, we learn from his condition, and they how the people lie to these guys in when to join, and when they are inside, they don't can live. The problem is a mafia. They don't can exit from this kind of organization. But definitely we learn, and it's one of the big issues with the Colombian army, is that we listen all the experience of these guys, all how they suffer, and we try to explain to the government that is not only one military way to destroy these cartels. We need more opportunities to these poor people.
Actually addresses from the root cause, right?
Yes, and the thing is that we in the army, we are the first that listen these guys, and we are the first in Colombia that put this in the context. So for 10 years ago, some generals say that is more important the roads, create roads or build new roads, than the bombs, because when after one road came one school, and came one hospital, and create a society. So we need more roads in Colombia than bombs or helicopters or whatever. So and it's not our business. It's the government is that provide this kind of infrastructure. So, but is the reason that we discovered the root of the problem is more opportunities.
But I'm sure, people must also accuse the army of, killing teenagers, even though they were guerrillas. They didn't behave like teenagers, of course.
Yeah.
But do you think that has ever happened? Instead of blaming the government, blaming the army for committing crimes against juveniles.
Yeah, so it's hard, but and sometimes it's we try to analyze what happened after one operation. Sometimes we kill people, or young people in his 17s, his 18s, his 16, and it's hard because they are Colombian, no, and they have families.
Yeah.
But in the final, we know that they are people in arms. They are combats that try to kill us and try to kill. They are in the wrong side. But it's hard, and we try to follow all the regulation and all the international law before any operation.
As they say, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. So, for them, you may be a terrorist. For you, they are the terrorist.
Yeah.
And
But it's interesting because in Colombia, we have long history that all these groups demobilized and became political.
20 years ago or 30 years ago, when you were growing up, Was it the same?
20 years ago, we are surrendered for the guerrillas, for the FARC. They are close to Bogota, and we was very close to declare like a failed state. And so this was in 1997, just when I joined to the military academy. The guerrillas was around the Bogota, the capital, and they took other small towns. And this time the president in 1998 created a big pistol, and they demilitarized a big area, more than 64,000 square kilometers. Is like they create like a small country inside, just for the FARC. And the FARC, we spent like 3 years in talks for nothing. In the final, they continue attack, and in 2002, the president stopped the talks, and we retake this area.
And when was the first time you combated after joining the army?
This operation was in 2002, when I tried to return to recover all this area from the terrorism. So.
And what weapons did you use?
So the main weapon that we use in Colombia is the rifle. It's from Israel. We call the Galil. They use for all the armed forms. We also use the American, the M4. For retake this area, we use all the power. So we use the Air Force, use the attack airplanes. We use the helicopters, the Black Hawks, to enter to this area and perform air assaults. Was five kind of small towns in the area. So we took at the same time during the night. Was in 20 of February of 2002 was the date that we performed this operation. I was second lieutenant.
So did you kill someone, or you were second lieutenant in that operation?
I was part of the first unit that took the town, but the guerrillas leave. They burn some cars, but they don't never put any combat front to front. They only attack or put bombs, but they never confront in a real.
Were you the Bronco commander? Is it that operation you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
You were the Bronco commander in the Operation TH6 and led the liberation of the San Vicente town from FARC. And the president of Colombia, Andres Pastrana, came to congratulate you and your team.
Yeah.
And we have a photograph of that with us. Is it that one?
Yes.
How was it? I mean, the president also came, and I think he came to congratulate you, and that was your first combat. I think you did a great job.
Yeah, don't was my first combat. Was my first big operation, or my first because I'm spent 2 years in this area. I have experience, and was the reason that the army decided that I'm go with the soldiers that I lead to liberate this town, but was successful. So and to liberate, because the town, the people, after 3 years under the regime of the FARC, they don't can go out the town. They need pay ransom for everything, for the food. And they create like a narco state inside. So the people, for me, was a good satisfaction when the people come and say, thank you for come, thank you because now we are free again. And the president just come and say, okay, thank you, but he leave. For me, it was good because he's the president. And I'm start my career.
And at that time, you were not a part of the special forces, right?
I was training for the one American Special Force group that come to Colombia, and they will learn techniques